Right, guys, welcome to the Ravit Show. We have a special guest today, Sheamus McGovern, CEO and founder of Open Data Science. He's also the founder of AI Plus platform, which is his new initiative. We'll be talking a lot about it today. Also, we'll be talking about his journey, ODSC, and future of AI. So keep your questions ready. We are gonna have some fun today. And before calling in Seamus, I would like to thank our partners 365 Data Science and How to Get Analytics Job by Albert and John. Let's welcome McGovern without any further ado. Hey, Seamus.
Ravi, thank you for having me on the show. Pleasure.
Welcome, and such a pleasure to see you today. And I was just wondering that ODSC is coming. There's going to be so much fun out there. And I've always been that big fan of ODSC. I've always been attending ODSC since years. Not now that I'm following ODSC. Since years, I've been a great fan. And always, wanted your team. I always have a question for your team: that who's the man behind ODSC? I want to know because you've always been behind the scenes, but building some or the other things. But okay, before me introducing you or anything, I would love to have you introducing yourself. Also, one thing that I wanted to tell people who are attending today is we have a good news. We'll also be giving away 2 premium passes of ODSC East for the best questions asked in the session. So yes, here you go. And tell us something more about you, Sheamus. Introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, do I get to vote on the best questions, by the way?
Yes, definitely.
I definitely. It's not so much the man behind the scene at ODSC. It's the men and women behind the scene because we have an awesome.
Oh yes.
Here, and I can definitely tell you more about that. But yeah, a bit about myself. As you can tell from my weird American but mostly Irish accent, I grew up in Ireland. My parents were, I would say, kind of like a not untypical small business entrepreneurs. A farm here, a pub there, petrol stations, heavy equipment, machinery, stuff like that. So, I was growing up, I like to break a lot of stuff, lots of room to break stuff. And luckily enough, when I got into my teens, I started to, focus more on building stuff I guess, and was able to, work with machinery and lots of kind of cool stuff, drive heavy machinery and things like that. And then I ended up coming to the States across the river here at Northeastern University back in the 90s. That was when NU would accept anybody. Their standards have risen since then. So got a degree in electrical engineering, headed back to London, figured pretty quickly, not too many electrical engineering jobs in London. So I had a great opportunity to switch into software engineering, and I did that. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about me. And then spent most of my early career in finance. One of my first major jobs was Fidelity Investments, and I was very, very lucky.
Wow.
I joined them back in the late 90s, mid 90s, when they were responsible for something like 10% of the U.S. Nasdaq stock flow. We're building trading systems, risk systems. I moved into hedge funds. And way before data science was the twinkle in somebody's eye. We were doing streaming analytics, tagging, and all that good stuff. So, it was a very exciting time, and I was really lucky. I had some great men and women who were my bosses, and they taught me a lot. So I really got I got looked at. I got a lot of early opportunity, and I'm grateful for that.
Yep.
That's the early start.
That's quite a journey, right? From starting back from England to today in US, and also I know that you've just you like to be called builder rather than being called founder, which obviously we have had a discussion around it, that okay, founder or maybe CEO is something that you feel that okay, it is just a tag, but you'll always be a builder, where you're building a community or maybe building something for the folks around in the community, and they feel that okay, this is something great, rather than you calling yourself a founder. That okay, because there's always a team behind that is definitely there. So what's the story behind you calling yourself a builder and not a founder? Rather, you keeping it that.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think I know lots of great founders. I don't consider myself anything special, but with respect to founders, I think it's a bit of an obnoxious term. If you find money in the street, you get lucky, and I think success is a lot about putting yourself in the right place, making yourself lucky. But yeah, I think founder, you're kind of like at the end of the day, you need two things to be successful. You need luck, which I definitely believe in, and then you need a good team, right? So
Right.
I think that's always been the secret to my success, and it's also been the secret to just having a great career. I always tell people when they're looking for a new job, it's a two-way street. Don't be so desperate to get the job you'll take a job with any circumstances. Like think about the team you're working with. Are they going to make you happy? Are you going to be happy going to your jobs? So that's always been my philosophy. And then, like I said, I like to break stuff that helped me build stuff. And I think software engineering in general, it's a great career because it allows you to create something. I've always been interested in construction, carpentry, you name it. But
Yep.
building stuff, it's very satisfying because not only do you get to build something and hopefully it's something awesome, but you get to see people use it, and hopefully you get to see people enjoy using it and getting a positive reaction to it. So that to me is kind of cool because engineering can be a lot about the journey, and as engineers we always know the last mile is the hardest, but once people start to use it, and we're always rushing on to the next project, but the satisfaction people draw from that is awesome. So that's why I kind of call myself a builder, and doing that for quite a while, and hope to continue it for a long time more.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for
I
that
think that's
question.
I think that's a very super cool approach where you call yourself a builder, because it's not always about okay, there are many founders definitely, but building things is an ongoing process which never stops, and you pursue that that okay, I'm still a builder, I'll still build things, I'll still do the coding, I'll still do the things that I was doing back then. So which is amazing. Talking of things that you've done back then, one is obviously you left your job and you started your own company, and one of them was obviously ODSC. So what's the story behind ODSC? How did it start? What was the purpose? Can you tell us more about it, Seamus?
Yeah, it was a hugely exciting time for me because I kind of ditched finance and quant finance, much to the dismay of my family, because I was working with great people, but the projects were like very risk adverse, very long projects. I wanted to build a quicker cycle, so I was at
Yeah.
a tech startup and getting into the startup world with Mass Challenge, and I was we're doing the stuff we do, streaming analytics, bond analytics, building models for bonds mostly. And then I want to do this thing called sentiment analysis. I'm like, how the hell am I going to do that? So I went to NEURIPS, which was called NIPS at the time. I went to Strata Conference. I went to a bunch of big academic commercial conferences, and I didn't quite get what I wanted because one was too academic, too far out there, and the other one was too much, excuse my saying it, but it's salesy, and I didn't have the money to buy this kind of stuff. A low budget startup. So I went to a meetup, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to swear in this show, so I'll watch my language. I was like, I just walked in there for free. I met a bunch of cool people. Started picking their brains, and a month later we had a bag of words sentiment analysis thing running on Twitter to try and find out about bond analysts and what the Fed was doing and all that stuff. So that to me was a seminal moment. So I was like, the heck with this, I'm going to get from behind the machine. I started giving talks myself on open source data science platforms, and as I was learning this stuff myself, I would put together a talk on it and then present it. And that was a ton of fun. We were doing it in Cambridge here behind me at HackReduce, and meeting a bunch of people. And to me, coming from that closed world of, software engineering and finance, now all of a sudden being able to meet hundreds of people was exhilarating, right? And from there, at the same time, there was like a dozen data science and AI meetups competing in Boston for audience in 2012. And the great thing about Meetup is very collaborative. So I got a bunch of people together and said, let's do a Boston Data Festival week. So it was all in the evening. It was $10 a whole week, and all the different meetups would get together, very collaborative. And we did that for a couple of years. And that was going great. But as you say, I really was interfering with the day job. So I was like, I'm done. Like, with a lot of volunteers, and really goes out to them, not just myself. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. It was too time consuming. Just running events is
Yeah,
bloody
exactly.
hard. It's hard. Volunteering and modeling is easy compared to it. But then a few people were saying, no, this is too good. You got to do something else. So it was like go big or go home. So I was like, I knew finance was global, so that was my background, and I knew software engineering was always about open source. So I'm like, look, this is all about availability and opportunity. Let's democratize data science. We started using that buzz phrase, and then we dropped it because everyone else started using it. But I was like, let's bring this global. And it's really the onus behind ODSC was not so much to bring ODSC global, but let's bring the meetup model global. So thanks to ERA, we did that. We did pre-pandemic, we had about 80 meetups running around the world, and we started running the ODSC so around the world as well. So that really was the onus behind it. And again, it was all thanks to volunteers and great staff, and they built on that little germ of an idea I had. So hats off to, and then the community themselves embraced it. So we
Exactly.
tried it, we got lucky, we iterated, and it was great. It was a really exciting time, and
Yeah, you say you just got lucky. I'm sure there's a lot of hard work which you guys have put behind, and which has definitely turned the way around. And I know for a fact that all the folks in data science AI world love to speak at ODSC because they get a good platform, a great crowd who's attending, and which is a big deal. And I know how much it takes to just have those things arranged and all of those things. Obviously, we'll be talking a lot about the operations too. We would want to know more about the operations, but before that, we have a few people who've joined us, so let's just greet them. Okay, Matthew is here. Hey Matthew, thanks for joining. Shruti is here. We have Ayush, and we have Manisha joining in, and Andrew is joining from London. Hey Andrew, nice to see you here. And we have a question for you from Matthew. What does ODSC offer to those early in their career, midway, and late in their career? Interesting question.
Yeah, great question, Matthew. If I got the name wrong, look, I believe even if you got a PhD from across the river where I'm standing here at MIT, you're always a beginner in something, right? Data science and AI is a huge field, so that's always our philosophy. We build our agenda like a lot of conferences do. We have a speaker committee which you can apply to and become part of. But then we kind of build our matrix grid and around different focus areas and topics. But also we pay a lot of attention to beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And we don't just say introduction to deep learning is a beginner topic, but you can be very good at statistics or linear algebra and math and be very poor programming. So we always look at it from the topic itself. So we do break our agenda down to beginner, intermediate, advanced, and that's one thing. And then also what we super focus on is we break it down further, and my mission for the last 5 years and probably for the next 15 will be around career paths and learning paths. Right? So when you look at a career path, it's like, how do I get my foot in the door as a data scientist? Once I'm in the door, how do I succeed as a data scientist? How do I go from a junior to a senior to a principal? How do I go to managing people if I want to do all that stuff? So, and there's a lot there, and I think there's a huge amount we have to learn technology-wise, but then there's a huge amount we have to learn by our career-wise as well. So you'll notice that one of the reasons that ODSC runs all these meetups and runs all these webinars is because there's a common theme between them. It's either learning the tech, the data science, the AI, or it's about career paths. How to choose between boot camps and different careers and stuff like that. That's why at ODSC East, for example, coming up next Thursday, you can join our career lab, and that's all about getting your foot in the door, first jobs, how to take on your next job, how to succeed in your first project. So great question. So we really do a lot there, and we try and help at every stage. It's not just about beginners or and even more advanced. We have an area called Research Frontiers. So if you don't have time to go to research type conferences, then we try and summarize all that for you. So we're always trying to improve skills because we know it's a journey, right? So great question.
I guess Great question, Matthew, and amazing answer, Seamus, because that's definitely something what I was wondering too. Having something like career paths, or maybe where people can start learning and how it is, upskilling themselves while attending something which is very informative. And also, sometimes there's a very common question for everyone: where should we start from? There are so many books, there are so many courses, there are so many things. Why not start with something where you just want to get into your career, and those
Yeah,
parts help you. So that is very interesting. And you just spoke about something about the website. I'll just show it to the audience where they can actually visit. So it's yes, odsc.com /Boston. So this is the website, and this is what these are the we'll be giving away 2 premium passes for this conference, for the best questions asked, and it's happening next week. So looks very interesting,
yeah,
Seamus, already. And yeah, there are
yeah.
tons of
And
topics. And yep.
sorry to interrupt, Brad, but just to follow up on that, because you look at our website, you'll see lots of great talks around focus areas, machine learning, data
Yeah.
engineering, deep learning, you name it. But look at the career lab talks, which are free, because one of the things I wasted
Mm.
4 years of my life doing an electrical engineering degree, and when it came time to get a job, and I was like, I don't know about this, and then I switched to law, and then I was working in a law firm for a couple of weeks, and I was like, nah, that's not it, because it doesn't matter if you're young and you're middle age. It's hard to figure out a career for you because for the most part, it's a bloody black box, right? Like, I always
Right.
tell people
It's
they're
true.
excited to start their first day in the job, and they think they have an idea of first day in the job, but you have no clue. Like 6 months later, what you expected to be in that job versus what it was, completely different. So when you're getting started in your career in data science, don't just rush into the introductory level topics, but attend some of those free mentoring talks we tell you about, because they will tell you about a day in the life of a data scientist. And
Yep.
listen to what they're saying. A lot of people are like, yeah, that's good, but listen to what they're really saying. When they tell you you spend 80% of your time cleaning data and transforming data, why are you spending all your time learning advanced modeling when your new employer just wants you to probably just clean up this database, access this, do this stuff. So
Yeah.
listen to those mentor talks, because they're really invaluable, because I listen to them, and I look at my journey over the last 20 years, and I'm like, yeah, they're spot on. So they're really
Hmm.
good. So harp on about that, but those are very important. It's not just all about
Yep.
introduction to different courses. That's kind of key. And then
Yeah.
if you can find a mentor yourself is very important, right? Latch on to somebody.
That's
Go
so
to
true.
make a friend who's a data scientist. Find out what
I
they're doing.
think Yeah, I think definitely one thing is networking, and getting into the community, and doing the best and asking questions.
Yeah,
It will help you shape your career, which is very true. Also, Suzanne is here, and she says ODSC has a great team. I agree. Nothing,
I agree too.
Okay, there's an interesting question from Dr. Angel. Is ODSC planning to branch into other tech besides AI and ML? We already have, right? ODSC
Yeah,
already.
yeah. So I'd love to talk more about that.
Yep.
ODSC has kind of hit what I like to call peak conference, because I think at our large event we might have had we had close to 7,000, and I've been to bigger events, and we do a heavy emphasis on training, and um, really there is such a thing as too large a conference. So we're very excited to launch this new initiative called AI Plus. And as you can
Okay.
imagine, it's about AI, but it's kind of like, what would a 24-hour, 365 ODSC look like? So what AI Plus does is it is about AI, but the plus sign is like there's a lot of exciting stuff happening in cloud computing, obviously,
Yeah.
microservices, SaaS, cloud SaaS. Also, cybersecurity is a very, very hot field for obvious reasons right now.
Right. Exactly.
We'd love to do more in robotics, and we don't want ODSC to be kind of like this hodgepodge of stuff. So what we did is we built this virtual platform for many different
Mm.
reasons, and AI plus training is a part of that. So we want to branch into cyber. We'll still stay close to AI. Like, for example, our
Mm.
focus on robotics will be much more around reinforcement learning in that area. In cyber, it'll be more like cyber ML
Yep.
and cloud computing. And then the other thing as well is like there's been huge breakthroughs in data science and AI over the last 10 years. I think that's slowing down a bit. I think the open source growth will continue,
Yep.
like PyTorch, TensorFlow, we had huge impact building on what scikit-learn brought us. But I think now we're in the building phase, right? It's kind of like when they invented steel in the 18th century, and Brunel was building all these magnificent structures in industrial England. I think
Mm-hmm.
we're entering that stage now, the builder stage, which is very exciting for builders like me and builders like people in this call. So that's why we
Yeah.
want to be more involved in that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that makes a lot of sense. Sheamus, also you were talking about. I was just surfing around the expo, and that looks very interesting. The career expo that you were talking about earlier before this question, and this is how it looks like, which is very interesting. And this is where people can, just join in.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Very interesting. So do we, what my question here was, do we have free access to this one as well if we register for the
Yeah.
conference?
The Expo Hall, people free access to, and then the Career Lab and Expo is on
Hmm.
Thursday. That'll be free, and then we record those as well. So then we'll have another one
Yep.
coming up in London. Then we'll do one in India. Yeah, because I think that's part of our give back to the community to make sure people are free and accessible and give people advice on how to adapt their careers. And yeah, we also have great
Yep.
speakers there.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Excellent.
We have a question from George Faken here. What are some goals you haven't achieved yet that you would like to get to? I'm sure many.
Goals I haven't achieved. I think the number one in terms of ODSC is I think we want to start a conference somewhere in Africa, maybe Nigeria or South Africa, maybe Egypt. I'm not sure where. That's one. We've started some meetups there. We're still trying to figure that one out. So that's one goal. Yeah, and the second one too is really about again my mission for the next 5 years is kind of like around career paths and learning paths. So we
Right.
do want I'm very excited about some of the platforms we built over the last 12 months. I think they're at their early stages. So I kind of think of like machine learning for machine learning engineers, right? So how can we use machine learning to better improve people's careers? Because, for example, when we run this career lab, what we used to do is we would set up a bunch of tables. It would be myself and some other people at those
Yep.
tables, and we would do resume reviews, right? And I would see fantastic candidates from great universities, some with PhDs, some with bachelor degrees, but I found myself just giving the same advice to the same people about, formatting
Yeah.
resumes and emphasizing the skills and like things like people coming with a degree in, social sciences or econometrics and not emphasizing that because it's not a STEM degree or something like that. And telling people like every degree has something in there that you can use, like, being able to tell a story, being able to communicate is very important and emphasizing that. So what I want to build is, and we've kind of built it to a certain degree, it's called the AI Plus recommendation platform. It's a recommender around that. So I want to take the lessons we've learned over the last 5 years and apply that tools around that. So to automate some of this and give people like on-demand mentoring almost. So that's the
Yep.
recommendation tool we're building for careers. And then in the training side, look, always the same mission. I want to get it to more people around the world because, when I was stuck in electrical engineering, I wasn't happy in that career choice. I was talking to a recruiter, and he's like, "Yeah, Seamus, I can get you a job in Scotland or a place like that." But I'm like, my friends are in London, and open source software allowed me to switch into my career in software. Like other industries are close to us, right? And then open source data science allowed me to get into data science. So I've always been a massive, massive fan of the opportunity that open source allows, number one. And then, the fact that people like Andres Mueller and people like him build tools like scikit-learn and make it open for you to use, that was huge. That was kind of the onus behind ODSC. We wanted to put a spotlight on that. So I want to still really keep giving a stage to the wonderful open source people because, before I was just a taker, I would take open source, but that was a good one. And then bringing that in because, if you take people like Andrew Mueller and all the people behind open source and the tools themselves, and then you look at diversity and inclusion, right? Because that's a big problem. I've got an 11-year-old daughter. I want her to have the same opportunities as my son has or anyone else has. So that's a big mission to have as well. So that's why we want to continue to grow the open source meetup community. Not necessarily have more open source conferences, like apart from the one I want to have in Africa, but that's some of the reasoning behind that. And going to play, like when I first had our first ODSC in India, that was one of the best events I've ever been to, and that really reinforced the fact that it's
Wow.
conferences tend to go to the places where they can make big bucks from sponsors, and having conferences in these places and connecting with that community directly is hugely rewarding, and bringing people together like that. So those are just some of the goals. I know that's a long list there, but I got a pretty ambitious list I'm working on.
But I think that's something which is very divine. It's a divine thing, because obviously in the beginning of the ODSC, definitely you might be looking at something where you're just talking that you have some shining sponsors, you have some great community joining in and all of those things. But at the same time, when you have a great community already standing there for you, and great speakers who are wanting to speak at the event, now you would want to start something which is more of a problem solving, that I would say, in someone's career, and you would want to build a career path for them, and help them in every way possible, which is, I think, now more of a divine thing which you're getting into, and is fantastic idea. So yeah, I think definitely those are the goals which I personally would want to see ODC, and I'm sure it will achieve, not even in 10-15 years, but sooner than that. Hope for the best.
Yeah.
So yeah. Since we were talking about career paths, there was a question from Dakshin Vasra about his career. It looks like, I'm a student wanting to step in data science field. Can you share some good roadmap? Love the ODSC conferences. Amazing.
Yeah. So is his career? Has he started his career yet, or is he just looking to upskill, or is it more?
I think he's just a student and wanting to get into data science field.
Yeah. So I know I've been rattling on a lot about this, so I'll try and keep it brief. But
yeah,
look at your career as multidimensional, right? So you're in school and you're learning. So you're learning the concepts, right? So that's key, and that will get you far, because that's your foundation. The next thing you have to understand is, as we always say, you got to build your network, right? So that's why I encourage you, not just about going to ODSC, but go to your local meetup, your local data science chapter, join the data science clubs, because getting started in your career is not just about learning the concepts. It's about understanding how people do that job day to day.
Yeah.
So going to meetups, listen to what they have to say, talking to meetups there, and even presenting at a meetup yourself can be a huge benefit, because many of us, once we advance in our careers in data science, we end up in a certain domain. It could be finance, it could be consulting, it could be healthcare, it could be AI for good, and you got to make a choice, right? You might just, or you may say, I want to work as Google or Microsoft, but talk to the people out there at these events, working in the field, get to know where they put the emphasis, right? And then especially when you speak to a hiring manager, because if you start talking to some hiring managers or people in data scientists, like everyone gets part of the hiring process, right? So you need a data scientist. That's your career. Just ask them, like, when you interview data scientists, what do you look for? What do you seek? And that will open your eyes. Like, instead of just listening to me, what I have to say, because I got a lot of opinions on that. But build your network, and by the way, that curiosity and that desire to shape your career, people take notice of that. So being out there, like as we say in the US, get in traffic. It's like the lottery, right? If you're not in, you can't win. You gotta be there. So focus on the concept. But when I was coming out of college, I was apart from my friends, I was pretty introverted. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I can still be a bit like that, believe it or not. So you gotta push yourself a little bit to become a little more social, to be less introvert, and like that can be hard. Because we all like to sit behind our laptops and code and read and stuff like that. But it's easier said than done. But just pay attention to your network. Not only will you meet people who potentially give you a job, but it'll show you the way. And the more, it's like anything else, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. So that's my biggest piece of advice, is to get out there, get in traffic, and do it virtually as well. now that we're
Yeah.
all kind of locked down, you can still do it virtually.
Yeah. No, I think that definitely is the right advice, and I guess the right suggestion to just go out there
Yeah,
and talk. Don't just stay behind the things, and just keep wondering that okay, things will happen automatically. No, it's not going to happen that way. Maybe you need to network more, meet more people, talk to hiring managers. That is definitely one of the most important things that I've been lately hearing from most of the people. That maybe talk to a hiring manager. Don't start obviously asking for a job, but
yeah,
rather the expectations that they have set for a certain role. So that is something which is very important to get through. And when you say, Sheamus, that obviously you were an introvert and you were still one, so I can totally get you, because that's one of the things that I told you backstage too, that you just doing so many things but you never come up. Rather you'll just be giving sessions and that's it. You'll never talk about what you've done, what how ODSC has just come up. And I'm very happy today you agreed that okay, let's talk about ODSC and about the the career paths and all of those things. Thank you very much for that. So yeah, okay, I have an interesting one from Dr. Angel. He had a request about Sheamus, you could add quantum ML. Are you aware of the state of full stack platforms? Can you hint time scale for affordable, reliable platforms? Amazing. So
so you're
quantum ML
asking
is something that,
full stack platforms? Is
yeah,
that the question?
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't. I hope I understand the question right, but I assume we're talking about full stack platforms in data science and AI. And even before I get into that, like my background is software engineering, so I think I was a Java developer
Yeah.
first, then I moved to R, then it was Python, then
Mm,
Julia, then Go. So give me and I've always believed like languages are just like planes without engines. If you want to fly, you got to learn the
mm,
language. So I've been early on I was a huge fan of Scikit-learn. I think that was an awesome platform they keep building on, and you can see even the last couple of years that they went from just kind of like how do I build models on my laptop to how to do proper data engineering. So they came up with pipelines. I think they added that a year ago. So that's been phenomenal, and that's been very popular with industry. And then of course TensorFlow, when that exploded on the scene, that made data science very accessible.
yeah.
Some of these platforms, I wouldn't say they're quite full stack. But you look at something like TensorFlow, it's got TensorFlow board because visualization it's a very important part of the machine learning workflow. It also has TFX pipelines. So again, ODSC has been very much focused on machine ML ops, as we call it, for the last couple of years, because I always thought, when I started into data science, coming from engineering, I thought the engineering was very weak, and I still think it's very weak. But
Mm,
these platforms are improving that. And then Apache Spark. Look at all the libraries you have there. You got ML Lib, you got the Streaming Lib. You have GFX. There's some really great tools out there, and the challenge really is in engineering. I used to, my favorite saying was uh, frameworks and platforms that will give you very quick wins. They'll be your
mm,
best friend early on, and then they'll become your worst enemy, right? Because the problem with a framework is you can build on top of it, but all of a sudden the guardrails go up, and open frameworks are that can be sometimes a bit of a misnomer. So gluing these all together can be quite interesting, and I think that's a great challenge for a lot of data science and engineers because you can avail these stacks. But I remember when we were doing Python and R because we're working in finance, right? And just because there's a model in a given library, um,
mm,
we're trying to run wrappers around R code because the models that were built, especially for like finance, for example, were better in R because they've been around longer and they were in Python. So once you get deep into the weeds, the stack becomes pretty. I shouldn't say complicated because it does obviously, but it becomes a lot of fun and very interesting. So
mm.
there's always going to be a need to, there's never going to be this silver bullet stack. Like that's why I always encourage people to learn scikit-learn, learn Python, PyTorch, learn TensorFlow, And really the skills is in gluing these together and understanding what's there. And that's kind of very interesting. And look, it's huge opportunity, right? Because I've never seen a platform or a language in my career, like 20 odd plus, they never go away. They're always
Yeah.
still there.
That's
So
so true.
it can be frustrating. At the same time, for us engineers, it's just more opportunity, more stuff to work on, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and then yeah, and that's like the one thing I'm kind of disappointed is R. I was a very big early fan of R, but it's kind of there's a lot of great stuff going on there in the data engineering stuff, but the Python's kind of pulling ahead of it in terms of full stack and in memory engines and all that good stuff. But a lot of work to be done there.
Yep.
Great question. Yeah.
Sounds good. Great question. Yes, Dr. Angel. So, talking of that, I'll just shift back to a little to the, ODSC, obviously, because that's one of the most favorite thing, every maybe quarter that I visit in, after every 3 months. So I wanted to know more about, how ODSC actually operates behind the scenes. How are the things, managed, and what's the story? Is it like a daily, is it like just a normal company where people work and things are just being allotted, and it's people just go through it, or how does it operate? The conference thing is
Yeah.
always very interesting, because all the conferences meetups work in different way altogether, and they have a different approach to it. Most of the times people are having their daytime job, and then they
Yeah.
organize meetups or something like that. But ODSC is huge. There are many people who are attending it, and I'm sure it needs complete focus when you are having it, after every 3 months or something like that. So how does it operate?
Yeah. So you basically want to know what's the secret sauce behind ODSC? All right, Rob.
Not really the secret sauce, but a bit about
Just,
it.
just between me and you, I'll tell you the
Sure.
secret. Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, what can I say? Running conferences, in-person ones, man. Like I got to tell you, like machine learning, software engineering is so much easier in comparison. Like in engineering and data science, we're always looking at technology risk and model risk and model deprecation. But it is hard, and it can be actually brutal at times. But
Exactly.
honestly, our secret has been that we're not an events company, we're not a marketing company. We really structure ourselves as a as a builder engineering company. So we really apply the discipline of project management to our company. So the teams do. We have daily sprints, we have weekly sprints, 2 week sprints, we've daily stand-ups,
Exactly.
sprint reviews, stuff like that, and that's been fantastic because as I said, we got an awesome
Mhm.
team at ODSC, and what allows it to do is like these teams operate separately or independence without any insight or oversight from me. Every day they have a goal, they have stuff they want to achieve, and every week, and it's applying that. We use Asana, and applying that discipline has has really paid dividends because the one thing I always hated about conferences is like, especially when we started doing them early, was like this freaking mad rush at the end of a conference to get attendees and pull everything together. And as a software engineer, this to me was like madness. Like, stuff is coming, so why are you waiting like until the last month to pull all this together? So, you know, and hats off to the team that they embrace this because
Exactly.
like a lot of the reason why conferences pull it off is because they build this pressure builds in the last minute, but we want to like we want to have our own lives. We want to be pulling all nighters for the last 2 weeks of the conference. So by you being a data driven company and applying these kind of metrics to it and applying this overlaying that with project management, that's kind of been the
Mm.
secret to our success. Number one, and then number two is we've always been as a team we've always been very engaged with the community, right? So like I said, we've got a
Exactly.
speaker committee, but we listen to people in the music community. What do they want to hear about? What are their hopes? What do they feel like they're missing? So on top of that, we layer in this kind of like feedback you're
Yep.
getting, right? So this kind of tells you, like, if you're on the ODSC's email list and you get blasted like 6 months before the conference, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to we start things early, and then we're always doing our call for speakers, getting feedback, getting a lot of advice from people in the field.
Yeah.
Because the last thing ODSC depends on is what I think about what's going on. So it's kind of a team and a community effort. And then the other thing is, like, we've been very successful is we always have volunteers. So volunteers, they come, they help us with the event, but they give us feedback, they give us ideas. So if you want to volunteer for ODSC, see how it works, please do. But our volunteer, and especially the volunteers at our meetups, they're just been awesome. They've really helped a lot. So that's kind of our secret. Like, we create all these different channels. We use management, and then you've met Ira, Rafa, Varo, Vimal, Anna. I couldn't mention them all, but they've been fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I've just, I just mentioned about the big conferences, obviously, but it's happening on daily basis. What you guys are doing. There's, webinars. Obviously, I have authors from Fact who, go on webinars and, they present their book, also talk about different topics which are evolving today and what's coming up new. And I can only imagine, how things are evolving. And at the same time, you'll have to be very much updated to just bring in one of those topics to the conference to make sure that everything's on track, and something that has just come up which is new should be known, and that those insights should be actually shared to the audience, which is very inspiring, and which is very, I know how difficult it will be to keep up to date, that okay, this has just happened and we have a planned conference now in next maybe 10 days, and there's something which has new or very new topic which has come up. So do you, Sheamus, does that happen ever, that you guys have to make last minute tweaks? There's an addition of a speaker, just 10 days before the conference, because there's something which has come up, maybe a version has come up or something.
Yeah, no, I have a brilliant team, and they always get things perfect, and we have brilliant speakers.
Wow.
No, that's mostly true. The team has been excellent in terms of again, we're the basis of project management is risk management, right? So they've always been very good at like anticipating problems. That's why we were one of the first conferences to, like, when COVID hit back last March, our event was in April, and we were basically like, we had this huge event, 6,000 people coming, and 3 weeks later, 3 weeks before the event, they were like, no, you can't have it. And we switched to virtual within 3 weeks, and that's thanks to Rafa, Vara, Tushar, those guys. They worked with me. We knew there was risk there, and we switched to virtual at the time. But to answer your question, we always have a great lineup of speakers, but things happen. So again, it's great planning, because the speaker team, they're always working on this. We always get more speakers. So I apologize in advance if you've ever applied to ODSC and didn't get on the speaking roster, but we always have way, way, way more brilliant people and up and coming rising stars, and we have room in the roster. So we always have a backup list, and we let people know about the backups, and then when a slot empties up, we add it in. And it's been today, it's been very, very smooth. And look, you like, think about speakers. If you've ever put a workshop or a training session or a speech together, it takes an enormous amount of time, and you got to have the utmost respect for these people, because they put their heart and soul and a tremendous amount of effort into this, and they're sharing it with the world. So we've always been tremendously respectful and grateful of that. So
yeah, exactly. No, I can only imagine the project management here, and how agile the whole team is to make sure that everything is in place. And also the last minute changes and things like COVID hit, definitely, which might have turned around the things completely, because a physical conference and going back to a virtual conference, having to decide how it's going to be, the invitations, the platform where it will be hosted, and all of those things. It's a huge task, and that's something just in 3 weeks is super inspiring. And yes, I know the team is fantastic at ODC. Whoever I have, till date, I have maybe spoken to, all are super sweet, all know their things very well, all are out there for the community. They want, the maximum exposure for the community. And it looks very, it gives me that happy space to be around ODSC always, to make sure that, okay, if I have my authors in at ODSC, they're enjoying and they'll have a good crowd out there. So nothing like it. Talking of conferences, in obviously about turning things around virtual, what do you think has changed the face of conferences? Like now everything's virtual, all the conferences since last 1 year, everything is virtual. What do you think has changed
Yeah,
literally, and is it good, is it bad? What do you think about it?
yeah. Look, this you got to say this pandemic's been terrible for a lot of people. I think the toll has been enormous. We're kind of busy with our day-to-day lives, but the toll for people has been enormous, and I think it's going to be what is a decade to come, because I've seen, with the financial
Yep.
crisis and other things like that, it's not obvious the effects that are happening, and people hope for a return to normal. But I think the effects of this will be, felt for years to come, and it'll be interesting to see how they play out. And secondly, the pandemic has been kind of devastating for small independent events, conference organizers like ODSC. And again, the team has been brilliant, because last year was a tremendously, I won't put too fine a point in it. It was a tremendously tough year for us. But they managed to pull off 5 virtual events, and we built a bunch
Exactly.
of platforms on top of that. But I got to say that, what's the saying? Sometimes it takes a lot of stuff to break to build new stuff, and definitely what we're looking at. And even post-pandemic, we were, like I said, when we were plugged in, like the speaker team was coming back to me and says, "Oh yeah, certain speakers don't want to come to ODSC in San Francisco or in London because they're worried about their carbon footprint, right?" And I thought to myself, that's pretty hypocritical of us to invite people to fly to ODSC and talk about AI for climate. So we actually started working on a virtual platform back in 2019, because we'd already reached, now you hear of peak oil, I think we'd already reached what we said peak conference. And we were starting to think back in 2019, because we're doing a lot of free events as well, that we need our own virtual platform. So we didn't quite have it ready in time for ODSC East, but we got it up and running over the summer. And I think it's going to be freaking awesome, because, think about, I think every conference we have is like a unique, it's a unique thing in time and space, right? When we go to ODSC India or ODSC, APAC or Latin America, you have got this wonderful bringing together of speakers and attendees
Yep.
and partners and all that stuff. That event will never be reproduced anywhere ever, even by ODSC, right? And now,
Right.
how can you, for that in-person event, how can you bring people in virtually to that experience and do different ways to that? So, we've been, like I said, we've been working this platform, started in 2019, finished it last year. So as tough as the journey has been last year, and again, don't mean to gripe, like a lot of people have had it much, much, much harder than us. So we are very grateful, knock on wood. But I think it's going to be brilliant. Like, think about our mission to make it more accessible, make it more open, bring more people into science, give people more opportunity, give them learning paths and career paths. And then give people who can't afford to fly to these conferences, because,
Exactly.
just doing a bunch of stuff on YouTube is not there, because we're trying to give people a well-rounded, like I said before, it's not just about the concepts, even though we do that, but give people a well-rounded experience. And I think virtual is going to be there. And, let's face it, the tools at the moment kind of suck. Our platform is a much better improvement on that, but we actually built it, we call it eventx.ai, because we eventually want to bring machine learning to machine learning events. So we want to be able to do stuff to recommend you to different talks, recommend people you should talk to, recommend stuff for your career. So we've got huge plans for that. So I'm massively excited to that. I'm massively excited to get back in person. Our first event's going to be in ODSC San Francisco in November, mid-November. We're very optimistic about that. Hugely excited to bring back our speakers, bring back our community. But then we're going to have a virtual aspect of that as well, and let the world in and let them engage in that as well. So, Yeah, you can see.
Yeah.
I'm already hyped up. It's not the 5 cups of tea I've had this morning already. It's the
But I can only imagine, I know how difficult it is to, just be obviously sitting virtually when you have always been around the community, and you might be missing that all the fun, where you can meet physically and talk to people and, be out there, which is kind of a miss. But at the same time, it is obviously beneficial for the folks who can't fly, down there to San Francisco and, can attend something which is uh, such great. It's so insightful, right? And then just be there and be happy about that. Okay, they've just attended a conference and they wanted to
exactly.
just be
Yeah,
being into something which is
yeah,
just a 30 minute talk from, say, from a speaker, and they are well much in that space, so
yeah,
they feel happy about it.
yeah. One thing I want to add there, because people are like trying to figure out why we do and what we do, and it's quite simple. I'm really against this idea of this global conference because yeah, if we had endless money, which we don't, would just let's have a huge conference in Vegas and invite everyone there. But that's not inclusive. Number one, and then number two, I have a huge
Mhm.
problem there because I know there's some great data scientists in Las Vegas, but predicting the slot machines and all that stuff. But for
Yeah,
example, when we do ODSC India, our ODSC is not about ODSC or about us or myself or anything like that. ODSC is about the community of people where we go. So, we
true.
don't go to India to fly in a bunch of people around the world and say, look at the great global data science community. Well, we go there, so let's highlight the great data science community. Let's highlight the awesome data science speakers in India. And that's why we want to go to Africa. That's why we go
Wow.
to different places like that. Like
Exactly.
old school conferences about let's fly in. I don't want to name names, but let's fly in the top 10 people in data science, and they're going to bestow some wisdom on us, and that's all great. That's fine. Nothing against that, but we're all
Yeah,
about the
exactly.
rising stars and the rock stars, the community people, the open source people, and we try and do these what I call local global conferences, right? We go to and it's
Yeah,
kind of a local global thing where we want to highlight the massive talent there and the skill set there. And I think some people find that a little disappointing because when you're here in Boston, yeah, I want to hear from the Silicon Valley people and the people from Europe and bring them here. And why is there all these East Coast people speaking? Because I want to highlight all the talent here, right?
exactly.
So,
True.
and give people opportunity to speak and present their work and all that kind of stuff. So that's the modus operandi behind that idea.
No, I think that's very true, and which is very a fantastic idea, because considering it gives a chance to everyone out there. It's not only focused to certain people. Obviously, conferences are about people and the community. And when the speakers get a chance, if they're from
Yeah,
India, or if they're from Boston, or if they're from UK, everyone's getting equal opportunity to get there and talk to the communities, and
right.
spread the awareness. And from each part of the world, you're just picking the right folks and bringing them as speakers and spreading that awareness, because obviously you could do that simply, calling 10 people at maybe Los Angeles, and just do it, and just get done with it. But this is something which is very cool about ODSC, where they just target a region. They'll go out there, they'll get the best people out from there, and have them as speakers, and great data scientists who are doing great stuff talk about the
Yeah,
things that you in. It kind of, the ball gets rolling for the communities, and they feel happy about it, so which is fantastic. Okay,
yeah.
Shimis,
Most good
quick
words.
one from Walid. Actually, there's a question. Walid Hussain, as someone who wants to be a data scientist, do you recommend working your way up step by step as a data analyst or and other positions until you reach the data scientist phase? Interesting question. Yep.
Yeah, I think I gave a webinar on this.
Mhm.
Whichever path you feel comfortable with. Like for my first software engineering job was like the first job to get me in the door. That's why I took it.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and there's definitely a thing to be said. Like it depends on your comfort. Like so, to be a data scientist, you need to have it can be daunting, but it can be sometimes very narrow because like the field of math, for example,
Yep.
is very nice. When we were in quant finance, it was all about stochastic calculus and Taylor series, right? In in data science, if you know Gaussian process, a bit of linear algebra, a bit of discrete math, calculus, like check out John Cron's boot camp on AI Plus, for example. That'll give you a good list of what you need.
Yep.
Even statistics, it's a pretty narrow band because you're looking at probability, Bayes theorem. It's you narrow in that. But if you feel comfortable in that, and then you're a pretty good R or Python programmer, I would say go straight into data science. If you're more happy being more of a working in spreadsheets, working Tableau, Power BI for now, then definitely a data analyst. But do know if you find a job as a data analyst where they have a data science department, so you can eventually kind of move into that. Because if you take a job as a data analyst and they don't know data science and they're not doing it yet, that can be a close thing to you. Another thing you should do is, and by the way, I think data analyst is like software engineering, a fantastic way to start your data science career because not enough data scientists, they go from software engineering to data scientists and they don't know the whole data analyst thing of it. And a lot of hiring managers and people complain about that to me. So that's one good thing. But also, if you start that road, participate in meetups, participate in hackathons, Kaggle competitions, code competitions, stuff like that. So that's one path. The other path is just be a pain in the arse and just go look for a job because I see a lot of people on the data science journey and they're like, I'm going to learn. Eventually, when I learn everything, I'm going to go apply for data science jobs. Just just go for it, right? Because one of the reasons we are successful is you got to knock on a lot of doors. You're going to get a lot of rejection, right? You got to get used to that. And like anything else, the more you practice, the more you use. So you're going to get a lot of rejection. But like I think Peter Norvig from Google said it best. He's like, don't expect to be a data scientist in 3 months or 6 months. It's going to take you it took me half a decade to be a good software engineer and a decade until I became a better one. Get your first job, hurry into your first job as soon as you can do it. And find someone who's willing to train you and hire you through your wire. And I know these job lists, they look like these massive lists of everything, but don't study forever. You take the plunge sooner rather than later. And yes, that's easy to say because it's very, very hard to get a job as a junior data scientist, but keep trying. I don't care if it takes you 6 months or a year. When I was in finance, I was doing a lot of financial systems. I was really enamored with the quant finance stuff, and they were like, "No, you're a software engineer. Stay on that side." So I went and got my CPF in London for quant finance, and then eventually I got into it. But yeah, there's always going to be barriers. You just got to break them down, and it takes time. It takes time and perseverance to break them down.
Fantastic. I think that definitely answers for all. Amazing question. And Vetlana, I was saying when you were talking about the career paths, obviously foundation, networking, and demonstration of your skills will get you to places you want to be. Very true. Fantastic. Okay, before we wrap up and before we take a leave, Sheamus, I have two questions for you. One obviously is about books. So I wanted to know which are the books which are your favorite books, or maybe which are the books that you're currently reading, because sometimes it is that you keep your current reads as your favorites. So any 2 books, 3 books, or any book that you remember is something that you feel that is an evergreen book and it will help people to, upskill themselves in data science, AI, or any field, which is
Stack Overflow. Is that a book?
Stack Overflow.
I give a talk. That's amazing. People get very upset with me, but I'm like, it was more of a software engineering talk, and I was like, this was like 10 years ago, and I was like, you're not software engineers. You're copying. Like, there's only 2 kinds of engineers in the world: the copy and paste engineers and the real ones. And the copy and paste is like, I got a problem, I Google it and Stack Overflow, I copy and paste it.
It's done.
Then I compile my code or I run it and see if it works. No, and I do that myself all the time. Like, book, I don't have time to read a book. No, but I have read a few. So Deep Learning Illustrated by John Cron. He speaks at ODSC events. And after I heard him speak, I'm like, okay, I don't know what he wrote, but I got to read it. So I heard him give a talk. And I think Core, a brilliant book. That was one. Another speaker we've had at ODSC, anything by Alan Downey. He's an absolute rock star and the nicest person on the planet. So think Python, think Bayes, anything by him. He's brilliant.
Mm.
You know, you know, we had Kathy O'Neill speak at our conference, and I read her book, Weapons of Math Destruction. Great book.
Oh,
Virginia
yes.
Yearbook, she wrote a book on algorithms and bias algorithms. I read that one as well, but that was a good few years ago. And
Mm.
I think one of the great books I read when I was a long time ago, just getting into the field, trying to do was it Pattern Recognition and Machine Learning by Christopher Bishop. You know, if you're in a master's degree, you've probably been assigned that book. It can be heavy going at times. It's a great
Yep.
foundation book. And you know, I know more than one hiring manager who picks their interview questions from that, so that'd be a good tip. But look, I gotta say, I hate to say it to you, data scientists out there, but a lot of data scientists suck at coding. They've become much better in recent years, thanks to ML ops and the workflow becoming
Yeah.
and pipelines and all that stuff. But like the classics out there that really help in software engineering, and I think would really help other data science out there. Look at books like Design Patterns by is that Richard Help? Richard Help, I can't remember the name, and Anti Patterns, because at the end of the day, machine learning is engineering. Um,
Mm.
Deep learning models may be black boxes, but apart from the models, you got to get stuff in there. You got to get things out. You got to run them in pipelines. You got to monitor them and all that stuff. So look at patterns and anti-patterns. I
Yep.
think I saw a data science design patterns book out, but I'm not sure. Anyway, read these because as one of your uh, audience members mentioned about full stack engineering.
Yep.
Engineering is going to be more and more in demand in data science, and so read these books about design patterns and all that stuff. But yeah, having said that, I'm also a big fan of we have our own blog site as well, Open Data Science. So I tend to read more of the blog sites and like
Fantastic.
OpenDataScience.com, the book details. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's great. I think a lot many books there. Though you say you don't read, but I'm sure there are many books that you read, Seamus.
I like to read
So,
sci-fi, science fiction. When are we getting to Mars?
oh, I'm sure you may be listening to Elon Musk too. Then
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's good. I don't listen to his stock tips. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't.
that's your finance background.
Yeah, I did buy a few Tesla stocks for my son. Those are going well. So
Fantastic. I
yeah,
yeah, I think
I'm gonna
that's
buy a sentiment analysis tool that just runs automatically. So whatever he says, buy, and then a week later sell it. We call it the Elon Musk bump. Crazy. He's market these days. It's insane.
fantastic. I think the last question from me here is about where can people find you? What is the best way to reach out to you? Is it LinkedIn? Is it email? Where can people actually reach out
Yeah,
to you?
email me at Sheamus@odsc.com is one way. I gotta admit, I'm been very poor at LinkedIn, but do link into me because that's the way instead of emailing me, because LinkedIn I can see your background profile. I can be slow to respond, but
Yeah, no
I
problem.
will respond for sure. And look, you can find me in San Francisco in November for sure. Knock on wood. Next year you can find me at ODSC India. I hope to get back into meetups here in the Boston area. And
Amazing.
once East is over, I'm going to be running a webinar once a month again, mostly about career paths. So you can find me
Okay.
there. So lots of different ways. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I think IRA there has provided great information for folks who are attending, and they can sign up for the career paths, the ODSC East conference that is happening, and we will announce the winners by this week. Shimesh, obviously there were many questions that were asked, and obviously we can't take all of them. But when you get a chance, don't forget to just have a look at those questions, and we'll decide the winners then. But anyways, it was fantastic talking to you. Great questions from the audience. You were amazing. And I know there's a lot of topics that we can discuss. You're a great speaker, that is for sure. See you soon on the Ravit Show, and it was a pleasure talking to you, Sheamus, and great questions. Thank you very much, audience.
Rafi, thank you so much for the kind words.
Yep.
Thank you to your audience. And again, wonderful presentation and wonderful event. And huge fan of your show. And look forward to your next speakers and your next
Thank you.
section. Thank you, Ravi.